Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to start off a mini-series. This is going to focus on characters that would be great legendary heroes for the races of each of the games. So today's video is going to focus on the Game 1 races, as there's a bunch of characters still missing for them, and it would be kind of cool to get more legendary heroes in. Not at the cost of more legendary lords of course, but not every character can be a legendary lord. Some of them are meant to serve and others just wouldn't make sense as a faction leader. Now I'd love to see more legendary heroes being introduced, whether that be in character packs which would just be lords and heroes and no units, as some races are pretty much almost done with units, or you never know when it comes to these rework situations that Creative Assembly have said are going to happen during the time that there's no DLC launches. Maybe they could be nice and add in a legendary hero every now and then. But before anything, a big thank you to our sponsor, Instant Gaming. With so many games coming out lately, it's getting rather expensive, but Instant Gaming will be the answer to your problems as they do quite big discounts on even new titles. For example, you can pick up the new Elden Ring DLC or the new expansion for Final Fantasy for 23% off. You've also got the Thrones of Decay DLC, yes, the recent one for Total War, for £15, which is a really good deal, just a $5 per character essentially. Purchasing through Instant Gaming on the special link provided below will also support the channel with no extra cost to you. I've worked with Instant Gaming before, I've purchased from there myself, and I like working with them to be honest, which is why we're doing yet another giveaway for the month of July. Win any game of your choice. All you have to do is follow the link in the description below and you can sign up for free. A big thank you to our friends at Instant Gaming, as these sponsorships do keep the channel going, especially when it gets a little bit quiet in the Total War front, and considering that I have recently just had a monitor fault where my secondary monitors just died, so sponsorships like this do allow me to update my machine and make sure everything is in tip-top shape. A big thank you to Instant Gaming once again, and let's return to our regularly scheduled programming. Now we're going to start off with the vampires first, purely because I was actually talking about vampires with some friends recently, and the topic of Conrad von Carstein came up. Now I know some people might be saying, well, it's another von Carstein, I don't want that, but hear me out. Conrad, at least in my opinion, is by far the most interesting von Carstein. You see, he is an absolute terror, and I mean it by every stretch of the word. He's known as the Mad Dog of Sylvania, and he's technically seen as loyal, maybe to Vlad at least, or unless Vlad would show some weakness. But what made him terrifying wasn't the fact that mortals were scared of him, most mortals are scared of vampires, it was the fact that other vampires were scared of him. This vampire was so completely unhinged he could snap at any moment. Let's put this into perspective. Many vampires like to keep in secrecy, not really showing their abilities or their powers until the time was right. This is a very common occurrence with stuff like Manfred, who would disappear, work on his studies, all the usual stuff that you can expect from most vampires. Conrad, the moment he turned into a vampire, yeah, he just went off and started killing stuff happily. Some would say that that was the only joy he had in his life, some weird, indescribable bloodlust, which could be described very similarly to the curse that would afflict the Strigoi vampires when they go completely feral. Yet unlike the Strigoi, his intelligence remains fully intact. He just liked killing and he did it very, very well, so much so that he became Vlad's enforcer. Now in the lore, Conrad is confirmed dead. This is because he actually tried to take over the Empire during the Second Vampire Wars. After Vlad had fallen, he took over, and other vampires basically just said, no, yep, you're in charge. We're not gonna question it. Hell, even Manfred decided, I'm going to leave for a while. I would say that him being dead doesn't really matter too much, considering how many characters in Total War Warhammer are supposed to be dead, yet somehow magically appear back. Plus, he's super cool, and it'd be great to have a proper legendary hero for the von Carsteins to make use of until, you know, we end up getting a proper split, hopefully, by Creative Assembly in a Champions of Chaos style DLC for the vampires. But game-wise, he's a melee fighter. He's got no use for magic. Instead, he should have maybe just half of the lore of vampires to make him just have some spells, because he does know a little bit. He was a level 1 wizard, I believe. But what he's supposed to excel in is killing. Think of him very similar to that of Loki at Felheart in the sense of fighting style, where just throw him in, let him rip apart everything. He'll keep regenerating too, because that's what he does. He's a vampire. And yeah, just let him rip apart armies happily. I think that this would work out quite well just to give him a really strong character. Yes, Vlad is very strong as it stands right now, but he did get nerfed, so a legendary hero would be kind of cool. It could be done in a way that also the other characters could get access to him. You know, Manfred, Ghost, and maybe even Heinrich could have some flavor text in their quests where Vlad is sending Conrad to help them out for something, thing, just to kind of make things immersive. That's pretty much it. I mean, not a lot of people actually read the flavor text anyway, but you know what I mean. Alright, we're going to do the Beastmen next, and this character never had a model, but he did have rules, and he did have artwork. This is a thing that happened way back in the day, where Games Workshop would introduce a bunch of characters and be like, yep, sort yourself out, you make it. I mean, it's kind of happening right now with the Old World, which sucks, because Sir Cecil doesn't have a model yet, but yeah. Now, this is Moonclaw, and he would be a Beastmen legendary character, who technically might not be a Beastman. You see, a long time ago, upon Geheimnisnacht, the Chaos Moon Morsleep had become more active than usual and launched a Warpstone asteroid to the Warhammer Fantasy world. Now, these types of things are generally quite common, but this time, it was different. It was rather special. You see, the asteroid was more like an egg, birthing this monstrous creature known as Moonclaw, a creature born from the very powers of chaos themselves. Now, what exactly he is rather unknown, considering that he is described to have fur, and most people see him to be some very special god-touched gore. Not that many Imperials have been able to get too close to him to be able to actually note down his appearance, as he radiates a green and black glow, which is thought to be pure, raging chaos in its most uniquest form. With his very existence twisting, mutating, and cackling as it fades in and out of existence with the ebb and flow of the chaotic powers in the Warhammer Fantasy world. It's said that even his mere presence can drive men to insanity, forcing to slaughter their own friends and family before eventually turning the blades onto themselves. Moonclaw is known to be very proficient in wild magic and shadow magic. I could see him being interpreted in a different way, having access to spells of the Lore of Sinesh, Nurgle, and Tzeentch, so the Beastmen could have something fun to play around with. Now, you might be saying, well, it's a spellcaster, it'd be pretty weak, he might die. As you can see, his artwork also depicts him on a mount, something known as a warp beast. There's not really too much information here, but many people speculate that it could be something akin to a Chaos Warhound, just heavily mutated to the point that it has two heads. But I could see this mount making him extremely durable and more or less as strong as a rot beast. Now, this character has been known to lead some armies, although he is a hero, so I could see him still as a legendary hero. It could give some spellcasting to, Taurox, Khazrak, and so on, and be there to buff up some units, make the Gors a little bit more insane, a little bit more chaos magic, maybe even imbue an army with magical attacks. The main thing is the Beastmen need some sort of legendary hero. I know some people would say Gorus Warhoof, but I'm still holding out hope that Games Workshop and Creative Assembly decide, yeah, let's do a really fun army focused around Centaurs, with Centaur Lords and Centaur Heroes to finally flesh out the Beastmen properly, which is why I prefer Moonclaw as a hero. There is obviously Slugtongue too, which is a possible character too, but I would prefer Moonclaw just purely because he sounds so unique. Alright, we're jumping into the Warriors of Chaos now, and I know, there's a lot of Warriors of Chaos legendary heroes, but the problem is that this character was kind of hinted at Warhammer 1, never happened. His original artwork for the game was then used as the generic mount. This is Ghorock, the first Chaos Dragon. And his model is absolutely ugly, I know, it's not one of the best ones. But, yeah, a long time ago, and I mean really long time ago, this is during the Great Catastrophe, there was a massive battle between the forces of the Dark Gods versus the Phoenix King Anarion. A dragon prince known as Lerfin and his mount, Ghorock, were fighting in the left flank against the forces of Tzeentch. Ghorock being a rather beautiful ancient dragon with golden scales, known to be one of the strongest dragons to have ever flown in the skies of the Warhammer world. Ghorock essentially evaporated demons as he tore them asunder, even devouring and decapitating the head of a Lord of Change known as Fateclaw. Unfortunately, however, that would be the end of Ghorock as we know it. You see, it's not that easy to get rid of a Demon of Tzeentch, for the warping powers of the Changer of Ways can affect anyone. And unfortunately for Ghorock, he had literally ingested chaotic magic into his very body, where it could fester and multiply and corrupt. Ghorock had seen the powers of chaos twisting his very soul as he in agony flew up into the air, close to the apex that separated the world from the very void above, and then he turned. Ghorock came down flying in a fit of rage, bursting fire onto all, elf and demon alike, mutating rapidly as a second head grew from his body. here it was, the first Chaos Dragon. Ghorock's new twisted form decimated the elves and then withdrew away from the lands of the mortals to rest and recuperate his powers. It's a character that's shown up through history a lot, mostly because of the devastation. We've seen it from the destruction of Karak Vlag, and just a lot of other places. But in most cases, he stays dormant. What makes this character so interesting is that Ghorock himself, the actual dragon, the original one, isn't fully corrupted. You see, his mind still stays there, and he realizes what he's doing. It's a rather grim thing when it comes to chaos. You are sometimes still sentient as your body is doing something you don't want it to do. And in some cases, Ghorock has been able to actually fight back, attacking the other head, that of Fateclaw, before falling into chaos once again and Fateclaw taking over. I think this would be a really cool thing to see, a rather large Chaos Dragon as a legendary hero that you can wake up, you know, through a quest line, and there's a chance of it attacking itself and so on, but it would also have regeneration too. It would be really curious to see how Creative Assembly could interpret such a really interesting character. Let's talk about the Dwarfs. Yes, the Dwarfs have recently had a DLC with Thrones of Decay, and yeah, Garagrim is quite cool, but, I mean, who doesn't want more, right? We've had one hero, but what about second? This is why I've been saying for the longest time now that character packs in between major DLCs would be absolutely phenomenal, because we could get more and more characters. I'd love to see as many as possible. But this one is no surprise. Grim Burloksson. A few people thought that this was going to be a legendary lord for Thrones of Decay. At some point I thought so too, but Malachi made more sense to me. But he's got one of the best models in Warhammer Fantasy, clearly one of the best dwarf ones, and it does look like we might see his father in Warhammer the Old World, as there has been some leaks popping around on Reddit. But, yeah, he's an engineer, one of the youngest dwarf engineers to become a master engineer, actually. A ranged character known for using essentially a shotgun and a cog axe, very heavily armored and very durable. His purpose here would be to buff up engineering stuff, you know, like ranged troopers, like Thunderers and Iron Drakes, and obviously then some war machines like cannons, gyrocopters, all that type of stuff. It'd be cool to have. Yes, you can get quite a few tasty buffs with Malachi, and the buffs found in normal Master Engineers would be quite decent, to be honest, but having a legendary character also with a unique model would be really special, as it's a character that a lot of people do like. I actually know a lot of people, when Warhammer 1 came out, they bought this model because it's still available for Age of Sigmar, and they painted it up because it does actually have quite a unique look to it. But yeah, what makes this character special is he's young. Now, that might not sound too interesting, but a young dwarf who has mastered his craft ends up becoming very well and respected. We do definitely need more support heroes. I just like the character for what it stands for and generally how it looks. There's not much to say here. I know some people will be saying, what about Bugman? But I still think that Bugman should be a legendary lord at some point. Here's hoping, once again, Creative Assembly character packs. I don't want to talk too much about the Greenskins because they're going to get a DLC soon, but yeah, we'll talk about Gutilla the Hunter, because this is the only guy that I can see as a legendary hero at the moment. The other two I would see as legendary lords. We know Gorbad is coming as a legendary lord. So Gutilla is a wolf rider. He is actually known to be one of the best wolf riders in common goblin history. One of the big bosses of the Dripping Fangs tribe. He rides with quite a large pack of riders to harass pretty much any enemy that he'll set his sights on. He is known for being a skirmish fighter, and you know what? That's kind of cool. The goblins could do with that. He has also been there helping out Night Goblin raids of Spike Peak, for example, forming part of bigger wars, or even riding forward as scouts. It's a cool character. You could imagine him having a bow, firing on the move, being really, really fast, and boosting up wolf riders, which might not be that good, but it would be kind of interesting to see it as the Gorda's backstabber equivalent to the generic Greenskins. This character sadly never had a model. I don't think he even had art, too. He did have rules, and I mean, you could just kit bash one really easily, you know, get pieces of a normal wolf rider and then mix up some metal pieces in there, and there you go, unique character. But this would definitely help, because I'll be honest with you, I don't see much of a reason to use the Wolf Riders so far. I mean, in most cases I'll just switch up to Boar Boys pretty quickly if I want cavalry, so it would be nice to like buff them up quite heavily, have an army specialized for that. Maybe we can start seeing the chariot mounts that are still missing. Hint, hint, CA. But yeah, I want to talk very little about this because we still don't know what's coming in for the orcs. We know Gorbad is coming, but nothing else. Hopefully we'll get some information on that soon, because I'm pretty excited about more Greenskins, to be honest. For Bretonnia, we'll keep it brief also, as I've recently spoken about this character in a Bretonnia-focused video, Bertrand the Brigand. So, yeah, the Robin Hood of Warhammer Fantasy. He's a bowman. It's the usual, yeah, you know, where you've got a 100% original IP. But this is a character that can be considered kind of good, which is rare for Warhammer Fantasy, well, Warhammer in general, where he rose to the defense of his native land as the nobles had been hiding away during a greenskin incursion and then, you know, some other problems because it's Bretonnia and they're constantly fucked as it is. Over the years, as a peasant leader, he's become quite the renowned hero. Many people do follow him. Many people claim that he should have started to lay claim to become a knight, but he had no interest in that. He didn't want to be a nobleman. He wanted to protect the people, the peasants. And such deeds have gained him a lot of fame, where barons and dukes call on his aid, and King Leon Leonka himself wants to meet him, but no reason has been given as to why this meeting is going to happen. I like this. I like a range character. It would be nice to have a support range character that can boost up the Bretonnian peasant archers a little bit. They're decent, but let's be honest, getting a little bit of a buff to the peasantry would be really good. Bretonnia still needs more, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see them get an actual DLC, but yeah, I think that we'll have to wait and see how everything goes with the next few DLCs to see how much Creative Assembly puts into the title. I just really hope they don't get totally ignored. I really want to see a little bit more to it. On to the Wood Elves now, and this is a character known as Arof. Now, in order for this to properly work, Ariel needs to be turned into a legendary lord, which I think could happen. This is the thing. Ariel, or Ariel, depending on how you say it, is wasted as a legendary hero. I'm just going to flat out say it. It's a character that should be a lord because she is one of the queens of the forest, essentially. And then afterwards, we could get Arof as the legendary hero for the Wood Elves. This is a character who is the herald and the champion of Ariel herself. A elf who wasn't really too sure of what his purpose was in life. It was only when getting lost within Athaloran and saving a maiden from a demonic entity, likely from Sinesh, where he was granted a boon. For the elf, maiden was no maiden, but rather Lilith incarnate, the goddess of the elves. Since then, he has proven himself in battle time and time again, even being the one to slay Morga the Shadowgave, with such acts cementing him in Wood Elf history, and also becoming the royal champion of Ariel herself. As a character, I really like. His model is absolutely awesome. He's got one of the best Wood Elf models once again. It's amazing what really cool stuff ended up coming out in 8th edition, and then Games Workshop just throwing that all away. Wood Elves have always had a really special place in my heart. I really enjoy Wood Elves, and it would be nice to see them get something more. And another start position would be cool, just having Ariel there. Maybe it could just be 2 legendary heroes instead, with Ariel still remaining as a legendary hero and just having them both together. Kind of like Gotrek and Felix are now. Either way, I just want the character. And now we're on to the Empire. And yeah, you guys might be thinking Helborg or anyone else, but no, I'm going to left field this with you and go Brunner the Bounty Hunter, because yes, he is an Imperial, and yeah, you could probably see him with the Dogs of War, but I feel like this could be a really fun, total left field that would be really, really interesting. You see, Brunner used to be an Imperial noble, having lost control over his noble house long ago. Rather than becoming a homeless man falling to chaos or anything, you know, he decided, fuck it, I'm going to be a mercenary. And you know what? He does it really, really well. He's featured in his own book, by the way, which you should check out if you're interested, because this character is a hell of a killer, known to basically carry as much war gear as he can literally and physically hold. He's got swords, he's got bows, he's got crossbows, blades everywhere, some of the best armor of Gromril too. He has been hired by Bretonians, by Imperials, has snuck into the depths of Blackcrag. I know, that's absolutely insane, and his very name strikes fear to the hearts of bandits, pirates, anyone who might be thinking, well, if we get too close to this Imperial city, we might end up being a target. He's really, really cool as a character, and he's a character I very much admire. The reason why I wanted to talk about this character is because there's a lot of other Imperials, but most of them are very much the same. We ended up with Theodore Bruckner, which is cool, but I'd love to see more unique stuff coming into the woodwork, eventually leading on to Kurt Helborg and Alberic and all the others. But I could see this lad being introduced as a assassin / melee fighter, killing off characters with not much of a problem, being able to switch from bow to hand weapons. One of my biggest dreams for this game is having weapon options for different characters, but I very much doubt that that's ever going to happen. I'm not going to lie, I kind of want to reread his novel again. But yeah, you know, these are 8 characters. There's 8 races that were introduced to Total War Warhammer 1. Technically 9, because Norska is counted as a Game 2 race, but really is a Game 1 race. And this is just a basic amount of characters, 1 per race here. I could be here for hours and hours talking about different characters, and, you know, at some point I might do so. But I've been thinking a lot about legendary heroes recently, and it's something that, yeah, I'd love to see more, but some unique ones, some fun ones. Obviously hoping that Creative Assembly go for some popular ones, because there's just so many characters in Warhammer Fantasy. If we had DLCs going non-stop with character packs too, we'd still not be done years from now, even if we had a DLC every 3 months. That's what makes this world so incredibly special, because there's so many characters that people relate to. So with that being said, what characters would you think would be better served as legendary heroes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a bit of discussion. And once again, thank you to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video. You can find the link to the giveaway in the description below. And I'll see you all again very, very soon, guys. Have a great day.